Hello everyone, hope you guys are having a great day. It's May 17th, and today I'm back with another video course. Today the SBC has put out a moderate risk for areas of the Texas Panhandle over to West Texas. So that means a severe weather outbreak is possible, uh, pretty much this afternoon and tonight. Um, kind of reminds me a little bit of March 13th, but that moderate risk was tornado driven. This one is hail driven. Hail, I was talking about this in Saturday's video. Hail looks to be a very big threat today. Uh, and we have a moderate risk, of course. You can see that moderate risk. It kind of goes down. Cities in it is Lubbock, Abilene. Those are really the only big cities. We do have a 10% total risk. So the tornado threat is definitely going to be there. And the shear profiles are going to favor a tornado risk. But it's not, that 10% is not moderate risk. Or the 10, this, okay. I can't talk, but the moderate risk is not tornado driven. 10% is not enough for moderate risk. Wind threat, only a 15%. That's only a slight risk. But then hail threat, 45 sig risk. That is very significant. And it's likely that we're not going to get a high out of this. It's kind of impossible because you can't get a high, or you can't get a high, or you can't get a hail driven high risk. Even if a 60 sig hail threat, it's just a moderate risk. But nevertheless, a very significant hail threat later today. And yeah, so May has finally come. Even tomorrow, we have a slight risk in areas of eastern and central Texas, kind of more for the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And then on day 3, we have another moderate or marginal risk, my bad, in the plains. So very active couple of days, and today looks to be the most active. So I want to zoom into the south central U.S. This is the newest HRRR on the 12Z. It just came out. Let's go to this afternoon. Let's start off by looking at dews, just so we can see surface lows and that kind of stuff. 19Z. This is when we're starting to get closer to peak heating. Looks like moisture is favorable. Dews around 60 in some areas. Let's just take a few soundings. Yeah, supportive of definitely maybe a 2% tornado threat, but large hail though, it's going to be a problem. I want to go back to reflectivity, and let's go to this afternoon. We can even see this is 19Z, which 19Z is around 2 to 3 p.m. HRRR indicates some storms down in southeastern Texas. Let's take a few soundings with those, see if they're any good. Yeah, maybe a 2% tornado risk and damaging winds seem to be the main threat. So, oops. I do think we will have damaging wind threat. Also, hail threat will exist, but damaging winds seem to be the main threat, with some hail, and maybe even a little bit of a tornado risk down by the Houston area this afternoon. Now, let's go ahead and go ahead to 21Z. You can see we do start to have some storms going off in eastern New Mexico, western Texas. Let's start to the south, and then we'll move north. Let's just take like 3 soundings real quick. But wow, this is definitely going to favor hail. We have plenty of instability and very steep lapses. Shear profiles down here in the Del Rio, questionable. Not really supportive of tornadoes at all. But definitely, hail will be a significant threat. That's going to likely be the main threat today's hail. Of course, a tornado is we're likely going to see a couple tornadoes. But yeah, these soundings you see, these shear profiles would support a little bit of a tornado threat. This HUDO is not bad, but definitely large hail and large hail. Yeah, sorry. Damaging winds will be a threat also, but large hail is definitely going to be the main threat. Let's take another one for the north a little bit less of a tornado threat up here, but very large hail and damaging winds. And yeah, so let's go ahead and go to 23Z. This is 6 p.m. So that's Central Time, by the way. HRRR indicates a massive supercell right there. Let's go ahead and take a sounding right to the south of it. Yeah, that does happen. That's really going to have like some extreme hail with that, most likely. Take a sounding in southern Texas again. Tornado threat down there still not really. It's looking to be big, but definitely large hail. Take us down in northern Texas, or I guess the northern part of the Panhandle. Definitely a little bit of a severe threat does exist up here, mainly large hail. Overall, I think the main area where we're going to want to watch for hail is going to be this area. Right where the SPC has their moderate risk. I do agree with this moderate risk for sure. Of course, some areas may not even see hail, or even maybe not even see rain. Kind of like this area right there, if this actually verifies. Which most likely won't happen exactly like the HRRRs depicting, but it can kind of give us an idea, and taking soundings kind of makes it easier to understand. So let's take a sounding in southern Texas. The tornado threat is getting a little better. I mean, shear profiles still aren't very good, but we do have more wind shear. Hoda looks not really good, but the tornado threat does exist. But look at this. We're going to have the hail threat with this sounding is just very significant. And the HRRR doesn't indicate these storms really having too much hail with them, but I think that we're going to see some significant hail for sure. And let's take a sounding up by that giant cell the HRRR has. And yeah, definitely a tornado threat. Look at this. Look at these shear profiles. Kind of classic right there, and a decent looking Hodo. So yeah, I think that the greatest tornado threat today will likely occur across, I'm thinking, this area. I think that the SPC did a great job with their 10% risk. We can go ahead and go back to the SPC's 10% for today. And I definitely agree with where that 10% is located. I think this area right here is going to see the greatest tornado threat. And we have a 2% risk down there. I agree with that for sure. And 2% continuing all the way down to South Texas. But the large hail threat today is just very significant. But yeah, that is today's moderate risk. I'm not expecting the live stream later unless we have tornadic activity. If we do have like, if this ends up being kind of similar to March 13th, I'll probably end up live streaming. But I'm only today I really don't have much time to live stream. But yeah, so let's go ahead and take a look at tomorrow's slight risk. That is for Eastern. That's further to the east, for areas like Dallas, Fort Worth, and further into Eastern Texas. So 18Z on Tuesday. This is tomorrow. Of course, we can see we have kind of a messy storm up for this area. We even have some storms in Western Texas still. Let's just take a sounding up there and see if they're any good. Not really. Really just hail. Maybe some damaging winds with those. But yeah, let's take one in northeastern Texas now. Definitely, this is earlier in the afternoon. This is around this is really around 1 to 2 p.m. We can see have plenty of instability already. Shear profiles really aren't good. Winds aren't really veering of height at all. And overall, not a great sounding for tornadoes, but definitely damaging winds for sure. And yeah, so let's go ahead and go to tomorrow afternoon. Sorry. Wow, yeah, the HRRR indicates kind of a complex of storms in Texas. And that'll likely have a damaging wind and a hail threat. The tornado threat tomorrow doesn't look to be really too significant. Okay, yeah, maybe these soundings will favor maybe a little bit, maybe a 2 to 5% tornado risk for this area. I would say the highest tornado threat looks to be across this area, which, let's see what the SPC has a 2% risk, yeah. But definitely damaging winds seem to be the main threat tomorrow. But hail and the tornado threat or hail and tornadoes are still that threat will still exist, but damaging winds seem to be the main threat. And then we're not really going to talk about Wednesday at all. We just have a marginal risk right there. We'll talk about that in tomorrow's video when we have the HRRR. So, yeah, let's go ahead and switch over to the GFS and just talk about kind of what the pattern we have going on right now, because the pattern we have currently is actually going to favor a lot of precipitation in the plains. And yeah, so let me go out to, let's just go out to Thursday, and what's really going to be bringing all this flooding rain for the Central Plains, even up into the Midwest, is there's a few factors. Of course, you have a very unsettled pattern in the West, the Four Corners states, so you have a lot of lows tracking through that area. And then the kind of go up here and then kind of die off. But what's really trying to drive this pattern is this high pressure right here. That's creating a ridge like this, which kind of brings the lows up around it. And that means the east and the southeast is going to be very dry. Some areas of the southeast are just going to be hot with really practically no rain for 7 to 10 days. We can see temperatures on Thursday aren't really going to be hot yet, but then the heat's really going to build in the southeast as we go into this weekend. But you can see Thursday, highs in the 80s. It's not really abnormal for May in the east and the southeast. It's not really abnormal at all. But then we go out to Saturday. This is Saturday afternoon. You can see we have some 90s. Not really anything too. Not really. That's not really too of a big deal. That's not really too much of a big deal. The 90s in the southeast, not really abnormal for May. But then 23rd, this is Sunday. We can see we have mid-90s now for areas like Georgia, South Carolina, Alabama, maybe northern Florida also. Even 80s, making it all the way up into almost areas like New York City. And then this pattern really doesn't go away for the southeast. It's still 90s in Georgia, South Carolina. But then as we get kind of later into this period, closer to like mid-next week, we could start to see a little bit of an afternoon thunderstorm threat if we can get enough moisture into the southeast. We could start to see maybe a little bit of an afternoon thunderstorm threat, which will help some areas cool down. But nevertheless, it looks like we're going to have a little bit of a heat wave for the southeast. And this kind of reminds me of May 2019 a little bit. If you guys don't remember that, several areas had around a week-long heat wave in the southeast. Temperatures mainly in the 90s. Some areas hit 100, which that was pretty significant heat wave. Doesn't look to be that bad, but nevertheless, we're going to have some very hot temperatures in the southeast, which, let me go back to what I was saying before. That's going to kind of help to drive a lot of moisture into the plains and bring a lot of thunderstorms to that area, and even up into the Midwest. Let me go to, I want to go to 500 millibar winds, and this is really the last thing I'm going to look at. Let me get a loop here. But, yeah, it does look like we're going to have a pretty, I guess, the severe weather threat's going to continue. We can see Thursday, May 20th, that's Thursday. We will have a severe weather threat in the plains, maybe up into Colorado, maybe even the Midwest also. We can see we have this looks to be a cutoff low. We can see Friday, that low really digs, that upper level really digs down into California, Nevada. And once that moves east, we could see a severe weather threat. But then, if that would move further east, we could see a decent severe weather threat from the Midwest, or not really the Midwest, but the plains also. But what happens is the high pressure that's in the southeast kind of shifts to the west as we go into next weekend, late next weekend into maybe early next week. It shifts slightly to the west, which that might be able to kind of that means it'll kind of the upper level low will kind of go over that like a ridge. So that means that this whole low could just go right over this, but this whole low could go right over the south and not really bring any severe weather to the plains. But what could also happen is if the high doesn't make it further to the west and just kind of stays in the southeast further to the east, then it's not really gonna. Then we could actually see a severe weather event in the southern plains in the Midwest around Sunday, Monday, May 23rd, May 24th. But yeah, to wrap up this video, hope you guys enjoyed it. I will be back tomorrow. But yes, goodbye.